The wide receiver position is where this team is interesting now. They bring in Kenny Gallaudet. He only played 5 games last year, but I think a lot of that now, I was bringing up as it was happening. In hindsight, that's definitely what seems like happened. He just didn't want to play for the Lions. Like, why would he come back in that god-awful season last year without Matthew Stafford? What was the point? So he just played 5 games and just kind of nursed, like, yeah, I'm still hurt. Just, I ain't going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you
highest paid wide receiver in free agency they brought in, they paid the money for him.
Yep.
And to my surprise, they still went out in the first round and drafted a wide receiver. They traded down, added some assets to there, but I was still a little surprised they took a first round wide receiver.
I think one of the reasons when you look at why they took Tony is for 2 things. All right. So 1, I think they need playmaking help. I really do. Okay. But 2, they were the 23rd ranked team on special teams, and Kadarius Toney also will tremendously help their special team play. Because if you really look at it, who do they have? Kenny Gallaudet is not a special teams guy. He's not a returner.
No. He doesn't have the speed.
Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard are really not return guys.
No.
But Kadarius Toney is.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why they went and drafted him in the first round, because he'll be able to help with both.
You think he starts in the slot? Because Kadarius
100%.
Toney, he's not going to be playing outside. You think he starts in the slot immediately?
100%.
Okay, so that leads us to the next question.
Yeah.
Because Sterling Shepard last year, he played predominantly outside, but he's always been better as a slot receiver. And then you have Darius. So I agree. I think Kadarius Toney starts immediately. I think Kenny's on one outside position, not in the slot. Kadarius Toney is in the slot. Who do you think is that third wide receiver in this group? Shepard or Slayton?
I mean, I would rather have Sterling Shepard, but
yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. But I think it's going to be irrelevant. I don't think it matters who the third wide receiver in this wide receiver core is. I think Kenny Gallaudet is by far going to be the dominant number 1 in this offense. And I think maybe by season's end, Kadarius Toney could be a usable guy if you need a fill-in spot, but I wouldn't be expecting much year 1 out of Kadarius Toney.
Well, I will say this right now, when you look on,
because I mean, there are some people who really like Kadarius Toney in this landing spot, and if you're going in dynasty leagues, like drafting him first round, some people who's like back end second. The talk around Kadarius Toney's fantasy outlook is pretty widespread, depending who you talk to.
Right. So right now, if you look at their lineup, now this is just projected lineup. This isn't.
I imagine they have Shepard over Slayton there.
They don't. So right now they have Gallaudet as your 1, Slayton as your 2, and Kadarius Toney in the slot.
Wow, that would surprise me a little bit. Like, I like Darius Slayton as a player, but I don't know. I think Sterling Shepard's still more polished at this time.
Yeah, and even when they do their 12 offense, dude, they still got Slayton. So,
that'd be interesting.
I wonder if it's just because I, in my opinion, I think Slayton gets downfield a little bit better than Shepard does.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah, I mean Shepard, because he's always played both. Sometimes he was more of a slot receiver. Sometimes he's more of an outside receiver. They moved him around, but he has performed historically better in the slot. He's sometimes struggled on the outside, especially dealing with press coverage and which he never should have been the number 1 in this offense. Like he's been having to do, even back in the Odell days when Odell would get injured. Everyone's waiting for the Sterling Shepard. He's just, at best, a good number 2 wide receiver in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's proven. But I think Kenny is another interesting one this year. With Daniel Jones as their quarterback, what do you think his rough projection is right now before we do rankings and everything like that?
So, Kenny, to me, does take a massive hit coming
I think
here.
there's a very big difference between his redraft value this year and his dynasty value.
Yeah.
I think those are very different things.
Yeah. Yeah, Dynasty, to me...
I don't think he's changed much.
Yeah, he holds a little...
I think he's still around where he was. I mean, he definitely took a little bit of a dip, but this year, redraft leagues, I think you're looking at a back-end wide receiver 2. And I think I don't think he has wide receiver 1 upside right now with the Giants and Daniel Jones, and I think he'll be inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't think he's not going to make top 12 by any means. There's no chance. I would almost say, maybe back into, I would almost put him more as your 3. And that's just until Daniel Jones proves to me that he's actually going to do something.
There are some like glimmers of hope that because Daniel Jones, he can throw the deep ball. Okay, he has some good accuracy on it, but I mean, it's
look at this. He played 16 games last year.
Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
He finished the season with 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Yeah. Add 6 or 5 fumbles, 6 or 5 fumbles lost to that. And he got.
You know what? It didn't even track their fumbles for some reason. That's interesting. Doesn't matter. But either way, that does not make me happy.
No. I mean, and of course, people, if you're on the Daniel Jones side, will use the argument, well, he had no one to throw to.
He still had people to throw to, just,
Not Kenny Gallaudet.
Not a Kenny Gallaudet, right? But I don't know how much Kenny Gallaudet, and this is just me, and I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't know how much he's really going to change the offense as far.
I think he'll change. I just don't think Daniel Jones is really. Well, I think how good Kenny Gallaudet is, and how he's going to change defensive coverages, getting double teamed and stuff. I just don't think Daniel Jones is going to be able to take advantage of it. So in that regard, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I think if they double team,
I think Kenny Gallaudet will affect the offense. I just don't think it's going to matter.
Right. Yeah. And just to mention, do you still have Devin Ingram? And they brought in Kyle Rudolph,
but I think that's irrelevant. I think Ingram is the starting tight end on this team.
Yeah.
But I gave up last year, like halfway through the season, and I'm still there. I mean, and I love Devin Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
I always saw it. He's shown the flashes, but I don't know what was happening. Last year was a wild year. If you were an Devin Ingram owner in any kind of format, it was bizarre. Just absolutely no target share whatsoever in that offense. When honestly, just as like a receiving threat in that offense last year, he's probably the most talented receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
for sure.
And they just didn't utilize him at all. And when they did utilize him, it was inconsistent.
All right. So last question for the Giants and just for me. If you're taking a shot on any offensive weapon this year.
Oh, wait, okay.
Who are you going with?
It would be Saquon.
Yeah,
but
Saquon.
This is what I forgot because we kind of skipped
the
beginning part about Saquon. Where do you value him in redraft rankings this year? Because I know like last year he was like a top 3 pick.
I mean,
somewhere around
really
there.
Changed me too much.
See, he's dropped a few ticks for me.
Just because of the injury?
And the offense.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about it.
He's still a top 10 pick in redraft leagues, but I think he's back behind the 5 spot. I think there's players like, honestly, even Aaron Jones. I think I'd prefer over him. Derrick Henry. I think I'm selling the Kamara train over him. Dalvin Cook, CMC.
Yeah, but so I would go CMC. CMC, Dalvin Cook. Kamara, maybe. I still think Kamara would go over him. I don't think I would put Henry over him. I think I would take Saquon there.
Okay.
Is where I would go. But we're not even in that division yet. But I think Tennessee's going to take a little tick down this year.
Okay.
But that's just me. But yeah, I still think Saquon has a lot of value. And Dynasty has amazing value still. But the injury does concern me. If he gets hurt this year, he's done.
What do you mean?
As far as my value, like as a top 5.
Yeah.
Just because then injury surgery.
Well, I mean, this was a thing because 2019 he also dealt with a high ankle sprain. When he did come back, he didn't miss a ton of games if you just look at the stat sheets. But when he did come back, it took him a while to recover from that.
Yeah,
and he wasn't the same. So really, the past 2 years we haven't seen a ton of health with Daniel Jones. It really hasn't been great for Saquon.
Yeah,
the whole time there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching the Fantasy Monsters on YouTube. If you liked our video today, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell icon. Get notified whenever we go live or post other videos. You can see the link below. You can click on previous videos. You can also leave comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. And we'll catch you next week.
Have a go.